Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we are celebrating 50 episodes and opening up WWE Ultimate Editions, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today!
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Hey! Alright! Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. I am Ian Daddybones. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Say what's up to everybody watching this on Facebook and YouTube right now. Give a special high five and a knuck tap to all the Patreon subscribers. Throwing me $1 a month to subscribe for bonus content. You get your name in the credits at the end of the show is my way of high-fiving you back for saying that we support you and we fuck with Ian Daddybones and you need to watch this show too. But today on the show, we are going to be celebrating the past year, 50 episodes of Ian vs. Daddybones, and I gotta say, I'm very proud of myself because not only have I been committed to Ian vs. Daddybones for the past year, but it's the fact that I've been making content. My new podcast is no longer a new podcast. It's been established for a year. There's already plenty of episodes for everybody to watch, and if you support the brand and level up to the Patreon, there's a whole second half of the show that many of y'all don't even know exists because you're not throwing me that one simple $1 a month to get all access to all the other shit that I've also been doing over the past year. So I've been fucking grinding the content between Ian vs. Daddybones, the bonus videos, cranking out reels, figuring out TikToks, and just bringing back the Original Geeks podcast to have another incentive to support the brand and throw me that $1 a month. And not that I had any plans of giving up on it, abandoning it by any means. It's just I did the original version of the Original Geeks podcast. Like, me being Ian Daddybones has been a whole fucking process that started in 2002 when me and Double O Drunk, Pete Briggs, the Cheers Pete that I shout out at the end of every episode, my best friend in the world who died 2 years ago, when Pete and I started hanging out with each other, like my daughter Julia was 2 years old, you know what I mean? My oldest was only 2. It's been 20 years since like Pete and I met, and you know, at the time I was between jobs. I was all in my head from like shit falling apart with me and Julia's mom, me not being able to see my kid, and having everybody around me telling me how you need to grow up, get your shit together, you're responsible for this kid, how are you going to pay child support, how are you going to afford rent, how are you going to pay car insurance, you know what I mean? All that shit that you need to hear when you don't want to hear it, even though you're not rejecting it, you're soaking it all in, and just people won't shut the fuck up and leave you alone, you know what I mean? And I was going through a depressive time at that moment, because it's like, I wasn't a bum. I worked. I've always worked. You know what I mean? There's just been periods where you're between jobs and it's taking you longer to get your new job than you anticipated. You know, especially in my situation where I work 8.5 years for a fucking insurance company and then I lose my job. I thought the experience and everything I've done over the past 8.5 years would look awesome on a fucking resume to like my future employer. And it took me like 9 months to find something basic. And it's not that I was saying I was beneath or above anything, but it's just I was used to this type of job, this type of annual salary. That's what I was trying to go back to. And when you have to cut back by 30%, it fucking sucks. But I always worked. So back in a time, and mind you, this is the period of time before I got the insurance job, was when I met Pete. And like I said, I was in a depressed period of my time in my life. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, what I wanted to do with my life, while at the same time proving all these fuckers wrong and doing the responsible thing that I need to do and take care and raise my Julia, you know? And I did that. And at the time, Pete and I, you know, when meeting Pete and getting to know Pete, found out Pete was a musician. Pete plays guitar. Pete somewhat knew how to play drums, and he was in a band called Spicy Placenta when he was in the Army, and they were a jam band and whatnot. And Pete played rhythm guitar and had a blast with it. And you know, I remember Pete showing me like his songbook of like all these lyrics that he wrote while he was in the Army and shit. And it's like, I remember like him and I talking, because with what I was listening to at the time, mind you, this is 2002, so I'm still listening to like all my 90s rap, but at the same time, in 98, 99 was when I started listening to Insane Clown Posse and started being like, you know what, I think I am a juggalo. And I was listening to like Cottonmouth Kings and Insane Clown Posse and Twisted and Dark Lotus at that period of time. Eminem, D12, you know what I mean? I had Linkin Park. I had that Linkin Park and Jay-Z mashup album that was fucking dope, and I don't know why MTV ever fucking abandoned that concept, because it was fucking great. But like, I remember Pete introducing me to his talented musical side, and Pete would play guitar all the time, and like he would perform his songs that him and his band would do, you know, as a one-man band with a guitar sitting on the couch, and it was always fresh and entertaining and shit. And like with me being like depressed, and I mean at the time, I will flat out say, at the time I was probably borderline suicidal. It's maybe I just didn't have the balls to make the cut, you know what I mean? But like, I was really going through a dark period at that time, and Pete's like, well, why don't you just get it all on paper? You know, you said when you were in high school you were really good at writing poems. Poems ain't shit, but lyrics. And if you really break it down, everything is a rap. As long as it rhymes, it's a fucking rap. Go look at the Wizard of Oz soundtrack. It could be a whole fucking hip-hop album. If you take every song from the Wizard of Oz, set that shit to the right beat, you could turn it into a fucking trap house remix. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like, Ian Daddybones started off with writing raps with Pete. And then Pete and I would take our raps, and I'd take my PlayStation 1 with my MTV music generator and my stack of like 15 to 20 memory cards, and I'd just be making beats all the time, pulling my head out of the depression. And the whole thing was, we weren't trying to like get signed to a record deal. It wasn't about getting famous or whatnot or being on the radio. It was just, we both have jobs, we both go to work, we both get out of work, we usually go to Fitzy's, have a couple of pints, go back to my apartment, jam out for a little bit, or we'll go to Fitzy's and then we'll go back to Pete's house, jam out for a little bit, you know what I mean? So it's like, eventually we started making music together, and that's how Twin Widow Mafia got started, and that's where it was Ian Daddybones, the Juggalo local rapper. And then when me and what's-his-face decided to start the Original Geeks podcast, you know, I transitioned from, I was a trans local rapper. I transitioned into a podcast host, and now I was Ian Daddybones, the host of the Original Geeks podcast. And then from like 2007 to 2010, 2011, I was Ian Daddybones, host of the Original Geeks podcast, until indie wrestling came along, and then I transitioned into Ian Daddybones, indie ring announcer, indie wrestling manager, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like a Pokemon. I've had like different evolutions over the course of my life, and now I'm like, you know, I'm still doing the podcasting. I mean, at this point, you know, as long as you can stream it and fucking whatnot, it's pretty much a podcast if it's an hour-long show. And, you know, the Original Geeks podcast originally was on iTunes when having your shit on iTunes was like such a big deal. And in today's market, it's all like Spotify and whatnot. And my biggest thing is I need to get Ian versus Daddybones. Like, I don't know how to do the RSS feed thing. With getting it on iTunes, I had a homie that I used to work with really help me out in a crunch and help me like completely redo the website. And then I was able to have the show on iTunes. But like, I would love to get Ian versus Daddybones on like YouTube Music. I mean, it's already on YouTube, so I'd like to think maybe it's on YouTube Music. I don't fucking know. But, you know, get the show on Spotify and whatnot. That's definitely a goal at some point. But I'm kind of rambling, but what I'm getting at is everything about what I'm doing right now has been a transition. So it's like I had the Original Geeks podcast / wrestling side of me. And while everything was going great with the wrestling side of me, it was affecting the Original Geeks podcast. Not that I was taking time away from the Original Geeks podcast by any means. It's just the website was getting infected with malware. GoDaddy was cutting back on shit that it used to include for free, but now it wants to charge you for. I never got the notifications, or if I did, it must have got to my spam folder or something. But either way, GoDaddy cut back on a lot of shit that was included in my like annual like server package, and fucking next thing you know, it's like my website's got digital AIDS, and there's no saving it. So like every episode of the Original Geeks podcast is gone forever, even though it was backed up. Because I had no idea that when I was backing up the fucking hard drive, when I was backing up the server, I was actually backing up the fucking malware and shit. So, yeah, that, you know, it was a whole fucking mess like back in 2015 going on 2016 trying to save the Original Geeks podcast at the end of it before I said fuck it and moved on to the next project was a complete fucking waste of time, which had me in such a funk and a depression for 5 years that I didn't do shit. I didn't do shit but just get really fucking angry over a bunch of shit that irritated the fuck out of me, that was outside of my control, and it's just one of those fucking things where I feel I'm owed apologies that I'm never going to get. And going into Ian versus Daddybones, I was extremely fucking nervous in the beginning because I knew it was going to be a challenge, because my numbers were great with the original version of the OG PC, and everything with Ian versus Daddybones is going great. Like I could say flat out right now, the main difference between Ian versus Daddybones and the original version of the Original Geeks podcast, Ian versus Daddybones has been profitable the entire fucking time. Because of my supporters and Patreon subscribers, y'all have made this double thumbs up and a success for the first year. You know what I mean? With the OG PC, it was like pulling teeth trying to get fucking support at all. And I don't mean like support from the fans or listeners of the show. The support and the listeners of the show were there because our numbers were fucking going through the roof. Like the Google Analytics and shit was giving me like positive numbers and shit. But when it came to like people involved, trying to get them to throw in on the bills and, you know, renewing the .com and the server, and hey, I got a t-shirt idea, I think we should do this for shirts, I was the only one financing that shit. So like the Original Geeks podcast was always me. You know what I mean? It all came out of my pocket, it came out of my wife's pocket, and that's where I feel it fell apart, because I felt like I was just offering chairs for people who at the end of the day didn't deserve to be eating with me at the fucking table. Like, you're not helping me make the meal. Why are you sitting down and grabbing a plate? Like, I'm trying to build a fucking brand here, which is probably why I've been so angry and aggressive over the past year. You know what I mean? It really isn't and never was about the dollar bill. It was just the simple fact of people that I've gotten to know over 10 to 15 years that see me doing really well, and I don't want to say it's working this time, because that makes everything else seem like a scam or a front, which it never was. But the fact that Ian versus Daddybones is coming together and everything's working is telling me you were meant to come back and do this fucking show. This is what being stressed out and depressed and angry for 5 years led me to. You know what I mean? And fucking here I am celebrating 1 year of the new show. 1 year since taking a risk, taking a chance. Because honestly, like, this whole shit started 2020. I'm grabbing shit at Walmart that we need for the house. And I happen to walk past cut through the toy aisle to save time because I was heading to like where they keep the workout equipment because I was buying the MMA puzzle mats to line my entire basement floor with because at the time the kids were taking boxing lessons and I wanted to, part of their Christmas that year was I was going to convert part of the basement into a home gym for all of us to use, which has been the weight bench that I've been using for the past 2 years, and and taking care of myself, building a better me by working out every day and lifting weights and, not going overboard. I'm not trying to be jacked like Hulk Hogan or anything, but I at least want to somewhat want to look in shape and look great for the age I'm at right now, which is 44. And I'd like to think I'm doing okay, but like I said, I'm rambling at this point. I'm just reflecting back on the past year and everything with the show, and that's the thing. Like, I was going to get the MMA mats, so I cut through the toy aisle to save some time, and I'm like looking over and I see like a He-Man and Skeletor on the rack, and I just stopped dead in my tracks, and I'm like, oh my god, nostalgia, and I'm like, when the hell they start selling these again? And I grabbed He-Man and Skeletor. I'm like, fuck it, I'm grabbing these. And that's the thing. Once I grabbed He-Man and Skeletor, I wasn't sure if it was just them but looking on the back, it said it had Tila and Man-at-Arms and fucking Beastman and shit. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna collect this entire first wave. And that's how it all fucking started. Just was buying random He-Man and Skeletor at Walmart because the Masters of the Universe was always my bag as a kid. That was my favorite brand, my favorite toy line. It was Masters of the Universe, it was WWF wrestling figures, and that's what my favorite shit was when I was a kid before my Motu got stolen. My parents got divorced, and then I dealt with my parents' divorce by getting into Ninja Turtles. But the reason we're here today is to celebrate episode 50, and I want to celebrate episode 50 by opening up these two banging WWE Ultimate Edition figures of Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. And I gotta say, I grabbed Austin first. I grabbed The Rock second. So with that said, I'm going to start off with Stone Cold Steve Austin. But before I get started on him, to me, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock makes me think of 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. Because I was in 9th grade when Stone Cold Steve Austin was the Extreme Superstar Steve Austin in ECW, working with the Sandman and Mikey Whipwreck, cutting these promos that have since become legendary since he was so pissed off on how he got fired from WCW. So you got to see a new side of Steve Austin that wasn't stunning, but the Extreme Superstar Steve Austin is what got him signed to WWE. And when he came to WWE, he got saddled with a shit gimmick where he was the ringmaster and they put him with Ted DiBiase and he had the $1 million belt. And, he was the ringmaster for like a year. Well, I don't want to say a year because I know that, and this is like how geeky I am with shit. Like, I remember certain issues of wrestling magazines just because of like pay-per-view previews and shit. And I know there was like an issue of WWE magazine that had like Brett and Diesel on the cover staring each other down, had a preview for a Survivor Series, and WWE had this section in the magazine at the time from like rookies to legends where basically it's like a one-page article with a picture of a newly arrived superstar in the company, and we're going to tell you a little bit about the new guy. And in this month's issue, it happened to be the ringmaster, and it was Steve Austin with his buzz cut, holding the $1 million championship, somewhat smiling. And I just remember, like, oh my God, look what they did to Stunning Steve Austin. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, I wasn't the biggest fan of Stunning Steve Austin in WCW, but by the time he and Pillman started tagging together and whatnot, and Austin's like doing the hand cam and shit, I fucking love that. I love the Hollywood Blondes. But seeing him as the ringmaster, it was like WrestleMania 12 when he wrestled Savio Vega, where I believe he got announced as Stone Cold Steve Austin. So he was only Stone Cold Steve. I mean, he was only the ringmaster for like 4 months before Vince started letting him be Stone Cold Steve Austin. But then you got King of the Ring of '96, which is funny because, you know, in our timeline, I'm coming off of finishing Loki season 2 and everything with like the multiverses and shit like that. You know, in our main timeline, Stone Cold Steve Austin won the '96 King of the Ring because Triple H got in trouble for participating in the curtain call incident at Madison Square Garden. Triple H was originally pegged to be the winner of King of the Ring. So because he got massive amount of heat, he got in the WWE doghouse, they switched plans. Austin was now going to win King of the Ring. And like earlier in the night at King of the Ring, Austin got hit in the mouth, busted him open. He needed to go get stitches, but they were still determined to have him win the King of the Ring. And Austin eventually did come back with stitches in his mouth. He like faced Jake the Snake Roberts in the finals, beat his ass, became the King of the Ring, and Austin then cut his infamous Austin 316 promo, which blew the fuck up, made him an immediate superstar. You know what I mean? And made all eyes were on him, you know? And from that moment, he had an amazing spring to summer of '96 until Bret the Hitman Hart came back. And then Austin's feuding with Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation. And then Bret goes to WCW after the Montreal Screwjob. But at the same period, Austin's ending his feud with the Harts because Bret's going to WCW because of the Screwjob. Austin was feuding with Owen Hart, but then Austin basically during '97 he started a feud with The Rock when The Rock was in the Nation of Domination, and this was all over the Intercontinental title. And this was really great for a number of reasons, because it was the first time Austin and The Rock were working a program together, involved in a storyline. You know, it was a way for Austin to crank it up, and for Rock, after his '97 Rocky Sucks, Die Rocky Die, and him being a member of the Nation of Domination after turning heel, after the fans getting sick of the, you know, fucking babyface Brillo pad haircut, you know, fucking broccoli head, fucking Rocky Maivia. Now we have angry The Rock talking in the third person like Deion Sanders, and, you know, he's starting to come into his own instead of just being like, "Hi everybody, Rocky Johnson's my dad." You know, he was like 1996's version of, "Hi, my name is Cody Rhodes. Did you know Dusty Rhodes is my dad?" And that's basically him coming out of his shell, being allowed to figure it out and plant the seeds on what's about to be a legendary, groundbreaking character that, you know, as he says, transcends boundaries and barriers. And, you know, I'm supposed to be talking about Austin, but it segued to The Rock. But they're both here together, and that's why we're talking about them, because they had this legendary, massive feud. And you know, it's like I said, I was in like ninth grade during the Ringmaster Rocky Maivia. Well, no, I was in when he was the ringmaster. When he was the ringmaster, I believe I was in 10th grade. Or no, maybe I was in ninth grade when he was the ringmaster. When Shawn was champion, I was in 10th grade, and it literally was the fall of my senior year when Austin and The Rock. So we're talking like, yeah, fall of '97 right now, and I was in 11th grade at the time when these guys started feuding, and it was great. Like, you know, you had Austin throwing the Intercontinental title in the water, and fucking, you know, telling Rock, you know, when you get 316 on your pager, it means Austin's gonna whoop your ass. And then Rocky's pager started going off. Like, that was good shit. And you know, they had a lot. They had in your house matches for like the Intercontinental title and shit. And by the end of '97, rolling into '98, like, Rock was the Intercontinental champion. Austin was on his way towards the WWE championship. And, you know, and with everything going on backstage, following the screw job, whether it was Shawn Michaels, whether he's in shape to perform, or he's on this, or he's on that, or just, you know, becoming a toxic shit show in the locker room, you know, they're making plans to crown Austin as champion. And to me, that's what's really special and amazing to me about this figure, and why I wanted to get this figure in particularly so bad, because that's what I did for my senior year of high school. When other kids are like focusing on like senior trips and shit, I skipped my senior trip because I went to WrestleMania 14. So me and my buddies John and Jim and Karash and Chuck, and I know I'm forgetting a few others, but we went to Boston. We went to the Fleet Center for WrestleMania 14, and we had some pretty fucking dope seats. We were like, if you like bring up YouTube in another tab, and you're like watching highlights of like WrestleMania 14, and you're seeing where the hard cam is, and how like the entrance ramp on television was on the left side of your screen. So inside that arena where the entrance ramp was, we're literally sitting on that end of like centered of the entrance ramp. Basically where we were sitting, we would be looking down at the fucking goalie net if it was a fucking hockey game, okay? So we had pretty good seats, which by the way were only like $60. When we got those tickets ordered, they were only $60 for fucking seats. And based on today's WrestleMania ticket prices, blows my mind of how little to next to nothing it cost me to go to WrestleMania back in the day. But we were there when Austin defeated Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. And we also had tickets for Monday Night Raw the following night in Albany, New York, because we were all living in Clifton Park, which is like a 15-minute drive from Albany. So we went to at the time it was the Pepsi Arena. We went to the Pepsi Arena in Albany, New York. Used to be called the Knickerbocker Arena. Then I know it was called the Times Union Center, and it might still be called that today. I'm not sure exactly what it's still called. But we went there the following night after WrestleMania, and it's actually kind of funny because that episode of Monday Night Raw was so legendary because of so many different things. Most importantly, that was the episode where the 1-2-3 Kid returned to the WWE, and he was later going to be known as X-Pac. That was the night that D-Generation X reformed. That was the night that Terry Funk and Mick Foley were like handcuffed inside the blue steel cage. And it's just so fucking, it was such a fucking dope episode. And we got to be there for that. But, you know, there's, for the past like 10 to 15 years, even longer, it's more talked about today. The Raw following Mania, where the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania is always such an event because the crowd like takes control of the show, and it's always fucking amazing. Mostly, there's been some years they've been like, you know, for a Raw after Mania, last night kind of sucked. But then there's other years where it's like everyone's like singing Fandango song and whatnot. But for the timeline we're on, it's like, looking back, technically, the Monday Night Raw that we went to is basically being looked at as the first Raw after Mania, where this fans take control and have the best night ever began. So that's kind of cool knowing I was at that. But we're going to get started on this Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm going to look at the box real quick. Stone Cold Steve Austin, 6 foot 2 inches, from Victoria, Texas. Finisher, the Stone Cold Stunner. Career highlight, 6-time WWE champion. It doesn't say it on here, but he's also inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. The shattering of glass means only one thing. The Texas Rattlesnake is coming down the aisle, and he's got a Stone Cold Stunner ready for anyone even thinking about getting in his way, even and especially if it's his boss, Mr. McMahon, and that's the bottom line because Stone Cold said so. Now, on the back, this also says greatest hits, so I'm assuming this is a re-release, but Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ultimate Edition, ultimate articulation for authentic posability. Now, the front of this Stone Cold Steve Austin figure looks fucking amazing. He's got his window box. He's got 2 alternate heads. He's got a hat that's got the Stone Cold skull on it. He's got an Austin 316 t-shirt, a Stone Cold vest, 2 additional sets of hands. He's got pointing fingers. Unfortunately, he does not have middle fingers because they are selling this as a children's toy. And you know moms and Karens are going to be flipping out if, you know, little Tommy brings home a figure with double birds. And then he also comes with punching fists, and he has his beer can holding jack-off hands on the figure itself. He's wearing a gold chain, and he comes with 2 additional heads. Now, the 3 heads on this Austin figure are pretty interesting. I really like the sculpt job they did on these because the head he's rocking, it's Austin showing his teeth, making his Mad Dog face. You know, he's like, argh. And then the other alternate head is basically Stone Cold Steve Austin, no emotion, not selling anything, blank stare. And then the third head is Austin making his laugh face. But when I look at this Stone Cold Steve Austin face, it makes me think of Austin when he's like, what? It looks like he's about to end his laugh right before he yells what at somebody. He also comes with a microphone, and the next thing he comes with really makes me smile, and it all goes back to that Raw after WrestleMania, because that episode of Monday Night Raw started off with Vince McMahon making his way to the ring, and Vince McMahon was holding a brand new WWE Championship belt. And this belt would go on to be known as the Attitude Era belt. And the thing is, we were there that night when Vince McMahon unveiled the Attitude Era belt for the first time, because Vince McMahon got in the ring, he introduced the new WWF champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The glass broke, everybody went nuts. We all went fucking nuts because, yeah, we get to see Austin as champion even though we were there last night and got to see him win the belt. Now we're here, get to see him walk out and make his entrance for the first time as champion. So Austin came out, came down to the ring, and he looked at Vince McMahon, and he looked at the belt that Vince was holding, and Austin grabbed the new belt from Vince and he threw the Winged Eagle Championship on the ground. And the thing is, that new Attitude Era belt was on a blue leather strap. And that blue leather strap only lasted for like 2 weeks. Because it's like, you had the Raw after Mania, and then the following week, Mick Foley cut his promo, kind of disappointed in the crowd, like chanting DX and whatnot. And then by the time Mick Foley came back as Dude Love and started his program with Austin, they already put the Attitude Era belt on a black strap. So, you know, with this being an Ultimate Edition Austin figure, the fact that he comes with the Attitude Era belt in itself is pretty fucking cool. But to me personally, the fact that he comes with the blue strap version of that belt makes it even more special to me to buy this figure, because I was there that night when that belt made its appearance that only lasted a couple of weeks. So it's kind of cool having it in action figure form, because to me, I wasn't just buying a Stone Cold Steve Austin figure, I was buying an Austin figure that I can look at and represent a Stone Cold Steve Austin that was in the same building as me one night, because that's the actual shit that he was rocking. So I think that's really fucking spectacular. And real quick, before I even talk about the Rock figure, I will say that's one thing I am kind of disappointed in, is the fact that Austin comes with a belt, but the Rock doesn't come with a belt. Even though the Rock figure, once I get to him, is the 99 Rock, because this is clearly the 1998 Stone Cold Steve Austin. And another cool thing too is I'm going to keep my eyes out for, I've already seen like 2 of them together at Target, but at some point I would like to grab the new WWE Elite Shawn Michaels figure that came out, because that Shawn Michaels figure that just came out happens to be the WrestleMania 14 Shawn Michaels figure, wearing the red trunks with the DX on his tights. And yeah, so it'd be a nice HBK figure to pair with this Austin, and even put it next to the Rock, kind of, to me, to look at the fact that Austin got his first WWE championship by defeating Shawn Michaels. Austin would have a legendary feud with The Rock over the WWE Championship, among other titles. But also looking at Shawn Michaels and The Rock together, the fact that the fact that Shawn Michaels and The Rock never got a chance to work each other is definitely like one of my dream matches. If The Rock and HBK ever wrestled each other. Let's see here. Yeah, he's got his extra heads. He's got his hat. He's got his Austin 316 shirt, which I don't think I'm going to worry about putting him in right now. Stone Cold vest kind of seems like a must. I'm trying to think here. Alright. These Alright, he's got the double biceps. So, or not double, well, he's got the double, not the double biceps, he's got the double elbows. But he also has the more articulated chest. There we go. How do I want to do this? Okay, well, set him down. Armies in! Put your armies in, just like I tell my 3-year-old. There you go. Alright. That's pretty fucking badass. He's got his gold chain. Knee pad seems a little low. That fucking belt on him where it belongs. Absolutely fucking sick. And that's the thing, like, I'm such a sucker for the belts with the figures because I always see figures that don't come with belts when, especially when they're former champions, and I feel they should be coming with a belt. And then you have like people on the roster that are still like, I don't know, kind of new to me, and then seeing they come with belts. You know what I mean? Like seeing like NXT figures where like so and so's got the NXT championship or the North American championship or the NXT women's championship. Texas fucking rattlesnake. Come on, he's not wanting to stand. His legs seem a little fucking weird. There he goes. Put his box in front of him just in case he falls backwards. Alright, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now we can move on to The Rock. And that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like, after, like, The Rock, you know, after The Rock, you know, The Rock basically was the Intercontinental Champion after his feud with Austin. So Austin's going on this path towards the WWE Championship. Rock's making a name for himself as the Intercontinental Champion. So The Rock's feuding with Ken Shamrock, and then The Rock, then the Nation of Domination gets into a feud with D-Generation X, and you know, DX's feud with the Nation, like, basically was like summer of '98. It was so fucking enjoyable. From like DX impersonating the Nation. You have Triple H and The Rock in a ladder match at SummerSlam '98. At the same time, Austin's wrestling The Undertaker, and you know, so they were both doing their things separately and fucking killing it with their careers. But eventually, you know, with Austin's reign as champion, and after Rocky's feud with Triple H, like, Austin found himself in a situation where he's feuding with McMahon, Kane, and The Undertaker, and they wind up pinning Austin at the same time on a pay-per-view, and like, Vince vacates the title, And then there's a tournament at Survivor Series, and everyone's like, oh, hopefully Austin will get his title back. Spoiler alert, he didn't, because The Rock became the champion that night, and The Rock ended 1998 as WWE champion. The Rock started 1999 as WWE champion, and at WrestleMania 15, a year after I saw Stone Cold Steve Austin win the WWE title, I now got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock main event the following WrestleMania. And, you know, that was always interesting to me. 99 Rock is always interesting to me because at a time in my life, like, I graduated high school that summer, you know, that spring of 98. And in the fall of 98, I was getting ready to go into the United States Air Force. So, the last pay-per-view I watched before I got on a plane and flew out to Lackland, like, Survivor Series was on Sunday. That following Thursday, I flew out for basic training. Alright, we're back. I had to edit real quick. I had something I needed to do real quick. But back to the Rock figure. Basically, like I was saying, when I was in the military and I'm in basic training and whatnot, I didn't get to watch wrestling that much. That's not why I was there. I wasn't there to watch wrestling. I was there to be an airman. And I had a blast, even though the Air Force didn't work out. But, when I did get to see wrestling, it was like all fucking weird and shit. But like, you know, The Rock was champion when I went into basic training, and you know, it's like, holy shit, he dropped the belt to Mankind. Oh, he got it back. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And you know, it was just really fucking. It was just really fucking dope. Just like seeing both of them like make it to the big time, get the WWE Championship, and have amazing careers, like especially The Rock. Like, it's so weird because, oh, I don't know if I like that. He's got a really loose neck peg. Or maybe it's just, see, I don't know if it's the neck peg or if it's, yeah, he's got a loose neck peg. Yeah, I don't know if I like that. I think I got a fucked up Rock figure. Yeah, that feels really loose in there. I don't know, I may have to take this one back to Target and do an exchange. Oh, there it is. Well, it's still a little loose, but it's not too bad. I mean, I'm posing him. It's not like I'm fucking playing with him. I mean, posing him, putting him on a shelf, take some pics. But I gotta say, because I didn't read the back of his box, but it says, The Rock, 6'5" from Miami, Florida, finisher, The Rock Bottom. Career highlights, 8-time WWE champion. Whenever one of the Great One's opponents wants to open their trap and let the most entertaining man in all of his entertainment know what they think, The Rock says this: "It doesn't matter what you think. Know your role and shut your mouth if you smell what The Rock is cooking." But I do gotta say that this is definitely 1999 Ian in the Air Force Rock. Like, this Austin is Ian in senior year of high school. This Rock is Ian in the Air Force. And I know this because this Rock figure comes with his knockoff tracksuit that he wore on Monday Night Raw. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure if it was a Nike tracksuit or an Adidas tracksuit, but nonetheless, black top, black pants, white stripes, and that's exactly what he comes with. And he comes in with additional hands, like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's got the open jack-off hands, but he also comes with punching fists. He comes with open hand slapping hands, and he also comes with exclusive Rock Just Bring It hands. And I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to pop off his right hand and I'm going to swap that out with the right Just Bring It hand. And there it is right there. So we will cut that hand loose. Hopefully not cut my fingers. Alright, hand snips are fucking in there tight. So let's just bring it in. So I do think it's kind of odd that this Rock figure does not come with the WWE Championship, because even though he dropped it a couple of times, like, he was still champion during this era, especially when he was wearing this outfit. And yeah, it's pretty fucking fresh seeing the two of these guys together, because it's like I'm spending a lot of time talking about 98 and 99, and you know, these guys would main event WrestleMania 15, and then literally Julia was born the year WrestleMania 17 went down. So when they had their second meeting at WrestleMania, I was now a father. And then at WrestleMania 19, when they had their third match, I remember that was a time in my life where I was working at an insurance company. I was paying my child support, doing what I needed to do, and I saved up enough money to move out of my pops and get a new apartment. And that new apartment I got when these guys were facing each other during like 2003. That's when I moved out for good. I've been living on my own ever since. You know what I mean? After moving, because I got home from the service. I started working, and I tried living on my own for a bit, and I did, and it was going pretty good. And then when my Julia's mom got pregnant, I basically moved back in with my dad to save up some money so me and her mom could get an apartment. And basically, long story short, that never happened. And you know, you could rewind to where I talked about meeting Pete, and that's basically it. I now had a new apartment. I had visitation with Julia. Julia was able to come over to my apartment and see me. I got Julia a cat that we named Splats, and she was our kitty, and it was good. It was good times. And you know, that's what I think about when I look at like these Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock figures. I think of like where I was in my life when, like, you know, these guys were the new superstars. You know, they didn't have NXT back in the 90s. You know, they worked for other companies, and then they got hired by WWE, and then WWE would go and insult your intelligence because they would act like you never seen these guys before in your life, even though you're like, hey, it's Stunning Steve Austin. No, it's not. Shut the fuck up. We call him the Ringmaster now. So that's basically how it was. But yeah, I think these figures are absolutely amazing. And I do too want to go back to The Rock, because the one thing, I talked about the two Austin faces, but when it comes to the two alternate Rock heads, he's rocking his popping the people's eyebrow head, but he also comes with his no emotion Rock stare. But he also comes with an open mouth yelling so you could take the microphone and pose him so he's going, if you smell, la, 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 la. So it's his yelling, finally, you know what I mean? It's his yelling face, and it looks pretty fucking dope. But there you go. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. But I wanted to say again, thank you everybody for watching this. Do me a solid, smash that share button. Make sure you like the YouTube channel. I'd really appreciate it. And if you could throw me hearts on my shit, it really helps increase my growth on Facebook. And you know, the traffic on the reels has been really great. Actually, the reel I posted about these two figures like 2 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, saying I was going to be talking about these guys and opening them on the podcast. That's like one of my most popular fucking reels yet. And here you got The Rock's sunglasses. Put his fucking shades on him. See, the one thing, my one complaint is, like, this is like my third Rock figure, because I have corporate champion The Rock that's wearing the $500 shirt that also doesn't come with a belt, who has sunglasses that don't seem to fit right, and then I have the WrestleMania 18 Hogan versus Hollywood Hogan versus The Rock. I have The Rock from that match in figure form, and sunglasses never seem to fit right on the Rock figures. But overall, these guys have the Ultimate Edition features, has the, you know what I mean, has the extra articulation and the detail and the double fucking arm pivots, and just looks fucking sick. Double ball joint arms and shit, just so authentic and dope with the way you can pose them and shit. It's really fluid for the most part. The legs are a little iffy. Stone Cold Steve Austin figure's fucking dope. Rock figure's not too bad, but I'm still debating if I'm gonna put him back in the package and bring him to Target and be like, I need to do an exchange, and I'll explain the situation with his neck peg. But thank you guys very much, everybody. Patreon subscribers, thank you guys most of all, because I know the majority of you have been rolling with me since episode 1. So thank you guys very much for taking a chance on me, and I really hope I'm coming through on the back end, and I really hope y'all are enjoying the bonus content, the Original Geeks podcast and shit. And by all means, if you're a Patreon subscriber, feel free to interact on the Patreon as much as you want, and it will help me tweak the show going forward. I could take into your suggestions. If there's something cool that you see at the store that you think I might be interested in, maybe I can take you up on that suggestion, grab that shit in. Maybe you'll see me open whatever the fuck it is on another episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. But until next time, cheers, Pete!
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back.
You can't hide and you can't pretend, cause I'll punch you out like Wendy and Glenn. Some things you learn in the school you attend, but the things that I say you can't comprehend.
I ain't no hippie and I ain't no punk. I don't smoke crack and I don't do junk. I'll just sit down and smoke a fat bong, pull out my guitar and sing a fast song. There's your motherfucking American Idol, putting $2 a gallon down the gas hole. 10 million votes for the next asshole. I'll just put on my engineer's hat, sit back and relax while we speed down the tracks. I'll read the book just to spit out the facts.
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never go back.
Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, get stuck cause you never go. Where will I be when I run out of luck? Get hit by a truck or get stuck on the railroad tracks. When shit goes amok and life starts to suck, you're stuck cause you never
go
I'll sneak
back.
up your driveway all calm and collective, tripping balls like an underground detective. Need some new shit, but my funds are running low. I spend it on weed, shrooms, beer, and blow. Living life like a cartoon, just flipping the page as I'm staring down the barrel of a 12 gauge. Shotty to the body and it's got me open, shaking so bad, think my legs are broken. I'm choking on the smoke and coughing up the shot, waking up from a dream. These drugs are high. Chasing strychnine with kind and beer with whiskey. Sing a lullaby and I'm sorry you missed me.
You can't hide and you can't pretend, cause I'll punch you out like Wendy and